Measuring the invisible, when the mind became a science. An unlikely question. Thoughts have no weight. Emotions leave no physical trace. Memories cannot be held. For centuries, the mind seemed beyond measurement. Then a radical idea emerged, that the human mind could be studied scientifically. That idea changed how we understand ourselves. Part 1. Before psychology. For most of history, the mind belonged to philosophy and religion. Thought was introspected. Behavior was interpreted morally. Mental suffering was explained spiritually. There were no experiments, only reflection. The mind was considered too private, too subjective, too elusive for science. Knowledge of it relied on reasoning, not evidence. Part 2. The scientific turn. The 19th century brought a shift in thinking. Physiology began measuring reaction times, sensory thresholds, and neural responses. If perception could be timed, if sensation could be quantified, then aspects of the mind might be observable after all. The question changed from what the mind is to what the mind does. Part 3. The first laboratory. In 1879, Wilhelm Wundt established the first laboratory dedicated to psychological research. This moment is often considered the birth of psychology as a science. Wundt studied attention, perception, and reaction time using controlled experiments. The mind was no longer only discussed. It was tested. Psychology gained methods, instruments, and data. Part 4. Competing visions of the mind. Early psychology did not move in a single direction. Some researchers focused on conscious experience. Others turned to behavior. In the United States, William James emphasized the function of mental processes. Meanwhile, behaviorists argued that only observable actions could be studied scientifically. Thought itself, they claimed, was inaccessible. Psychology faced a defining question: what counts as evidence? Part 5. The unconscious enters science. Another challenge came from psychoanalysis. Sigmund Freud proposed that much of mental life operates outside awareness. While controversial, this idea expanded the scope of psychology. The mind was no longer limited to conscious thought. Even hidden processes could be inferred from behavior, language, and patterns. The invisible became investigable. Part 6. Measurement and statistics. As psychology matured, it adopted statistical tools. Individual differences were quantified. Patterns emerged across populations. Intelligence, memory, emotion, and learning became measurable constructs. Psychology did not abandon subjectivity, it constrained it. Personal experience became data. Part 7. The brain connection. Advances in neuroscience strengthened psychology's scientific foundation. Mental processes were linked to neural activity. Memory, emotion, and perception correlated with brain systems. The mind was no longer separate from biology. Psychology became a bridge between experience and mechanism. Part 8. What psychology can and cannot do. Psychology does not claim perfect prediction. Human behavior is complex, context-dependent, and probabilistic. But it offers something powerful: testable hypotheses, reproducible findings, limits that are acknowledged. It accepts uncertainty without abandoning rigor. Part 9. What remains open? Despite progress, deep questions persist. What is consciousness? How does subjective experience arise? Can meaning be measured? Psychology studies the mind successfully but not exhaustively. The strength lies not in final answers, but in disciplined inquiry. A quiet revolution. The idea that the mind can be studied scientifically did not reduce humanity. It expanded understanding. Thought became observable. Emotion became analyzable. Behavior became explainable. If this documentary reshaped how you see psychology, consider liking the video and subscribing to Interesting MindHub for future explorations. Because understanding the mind is how science learned to understand us.